What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Family Full of Hustlers podcast, home of the hustlers, where we only talk about hustler shit. And if you don't relate, then it's probably not for you. Today I have the beautiful Mikayla Rose live in action. It's been a while since we did anything collaborative. So yeah, I mean, introduce yourself. What do you do exactly?
Well, like you said, I'm Mikayla Rose. I am an astrologer. I like to call myself the Crossroads of an astrologer and a philosopher because I see the stars as something that reflects human evolution in the same way a lot of tools do. And I found a commonality throughout religion. I'm obsessed with religion and God and our concepts of God. And so astrology to me is what made all of those things kind of intersect. And it made me realize that we're all doing the same thing, and how everything kind of makes sense. So I am an astrologer. I own Gift From Neptune, which does astrology readings, but also magical rituals, and I sell star-powered ritual products.
Okay. So let's back up for a second.
Okay.
Because you said a lot that I don't think a lot of people, I don't even know 100% of what all of that is specifically, okay. Right? So how did you get into this religious astrology,
like this realm?
Like, how do you land here? It's like almost an abstract, like.
Yeah. So, oh my gosh, this is such a lifelong journey. I feel like all of our spiritual journeys are lifelong. I have an Aquarius mother who, we went to church, but church was more of like a community thing to us. And my mom will always emphasize, have your own relationship with God, have your own understanding of God. What does that mean to you? You make sure your relationship with God makes sense to you. And so for most of my life, I spent it researching religion, exploring different religions, even practicing some different religions. And the thing that always stumped me was like, how do these all make sense? Because I think people's relationship with God is a beautiful thing. Like, I've seen how deep some people's faith are, or some people's faith is. And I was just like, wow, this is beautiful, but the logical side of my brain can't conceptualize this sky being that I'm putting all of my faith in, that I don't understand how it came to be. And so throughout exploring religions, and I'm like, okay, there's an underlying theme here, because all of these are making sense and they're kind of all saying the same thing in different ways, but there's nothing that really resonates with me. And I think my thing also was, I want to be a good person. How do I know that I'm a good person? Most people know or measure how good of a person that they are based on whatever their religion is, whatever their God says, whatever their book says. And so if all of these things make sense to me, how do I choose which book to follow? And eventually I found my way to astrology. Actually, it was my mom that got me into astrology. Just based on little things she would say, and she would be like, oh, I got an 8th house. Mom, like, what are you talking about? Mars in the 8th house. What does that mean? Yeah. And so, because, I knew I was a Pisces, but that's pretty much the extent of what I knew.
Right.
And so I started looking deeper, and I found out we had this whole chart, and everybody has a chart and everything has a chart. And what is this chart? Okay, it's a reflection of the sky at a moment in time. Okay, what does that mean for us on Earth? How does this make sense? And I realized that the sky in astrology is just a clock. It's a big calendar. And it's not about causation. It's more about correlation. It's just tracking time, based on what the celestial bodies are doing. And so when I discovered that, I was like, everything makes sense to me now. Oh. I now understand how all of these religions make sense, because they're pulling on different archetypes of God. I feel like the planets or the positions are certain expressions of how God shows up. They show different archetypes of what God is and how it's showing up culturally, based on times, etc. And I was like, okay, this makes sense. So I know that if I am following my unique blueprint, which would be my natal chart, I know that I'm being a good person in the sense of what my energy looks like. And I was like, okay, somebody has to know about this. Me healing myself through my chart and finding God, or what most of us call God, through my chart, it made me recognize that God is in me. Like, I am an expression of God in the flesh, just like everybody else is. And we're all like simultaneously working together. And so, anyway, I digress. But that's what that's what astrology was for me. It showed me a blueprint for me to follow. And I know that I'm living in my best expression if I'm living in the best expression of my chart.
That's interesting. So, essentially what you're saying is you found astrology through your mother, and you've been using it as a guide. It's more so you can implement in every aspect of your life. So before you ended up, using this as your vehicle to kind of, live your life to its fullest, what were you doing professionally before you ended up in this sector?
So going back to my mom, like I said, she's an Aquarius. So she's always been like, girl, this 9-to-5 shit is overrated. Like, follow your dreams, do what you love, blah, blah, blah. And so I kind of just followed what I wanted to do at the time. So I had jobs as a teenager, but for the bulk of my adulthood, of course I'm only 28, but since I was 17, I was doing makeup. So I've always been an entrepreneur for the most part. I was doing makeup, but makeup was kind of just something I fell into. I love aesthetics, even to this day. And as you could probably tell from my brand, I love beauty. I love aesthetics. I love glamour. I love making things beautiful. And so makeup was kind of something I fell into because people would see how I did my makeup and they would ask me to do it. And then eventually it was like, well, let me charge for this. And then now I'm actually a bridal MBA, and I was an influencer for a little bit, like a micro influencer. So I would do like brand collabs and, would get PR and all of that fun stuff. And then astrology, when I found astrology, I found astrology when I was like 21, 22. And that's when I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to fully step into this. And I think I found my purpose with this. Like, I have never felt so fulfilled in a role. And I know this is what I was doing. Like, makeup was how I was going to get there. Well, I'll say I like to help people, and makeup in that time period was how I helped people. Because, when you sit in someone's chair, whether it's hair or whether it's makeup, people are venting to you. People are telling you their lives, all their business. And of course, I'm being a listening ear, but I'm also helping them. I'm also helping their self-esteem because I'm making them feel more beautiful than they came in. And so I think I've always been someone who helped people. And now I just get to help people in a way that really lights me up.
So is what you do now, like, what was the defining moment for you switching from was it like a specific event, or was it just like,
it was the pandemic, for real. For sure.
The pandemic shook up the world now.
Yeah, for sure. And it's so funny because I feel like a lot of spiritualists that are now my peers, they started their business during the pandemic as well. It was kind of just like, I can't do makeup anymore. I already do this thing. I'm already building my spiritual regimen, deepening my relationship to God. I started out just sharing that, like sharing what I was doing, sharing a card of the day or sharing a transit, what this means. As I'm learning and as I'm deepening my education in not just astrology, not just tarot, but just in general, I would just share what I was learning. And people just started to see me as like this hub of information. And I guess it just took off from there.
So when you first get into this space, and you said you got into it fully through the pandemic. Now, some people call it the pandemic, the bandemic. Everybody getting these PPPOs and all that other stuff, right? So during this time, I know there had to be like a transition into like, okay, I'm turning this into an actual business.
Yeah, and I think it was just like, I'm just doing this anyway. Yeah. Like, it's not something that felt like I was working. I'm just sharing what I know and what I find to be cool and how I connected to God, and something not even in a woo-woo kind of sense, but in a way where, during the pandemic, everybody was kind of self-reflecting. And during my self-reflection, I just shared what I came, like the conclusion that I came to. I went through this. This is what I was feeling, and this is what I learned from it. And I would just share that. Even, some people have a hard time being vulnerable. I've always been an open book, I feel. And so I just continued being authentic and being an open book and just sharing, my journey. And then people started asking me for advice, and people started trusting my insight and trusting my wisdom, and giving me donations to pull cards for them. And it really just built itself.
I can definitely see that from the outside looking in. I also see, like, first off, like what you do in your realm. I always say it's like a non-traditional like product or service. It's not the stereotypical thing that someone will offer. So I see people like in that sector seem like they may struggle like on the business side of things. Like, all right, how do I change this from a hobby essentially to something I could actually live off of and sustain myself? So, and which that could be applied to many other things. So it's like, at what point did it go from, all right, I'm doing this thing, I made my decision, I'm gonna do it. Now, at what point did it change in terms of like how you were executing, like how you curate your content, marketing, like how do you actually make this into a sustainable thing?
Yeah. And it's funny you asked that. I think a lot of spiritualists have a hard time transitioning into an actual business structure. I don't know if it's like a blockage, like a discomfort with it. But anyway, I can't remember the specific day that I was like, let me turn this into a business. But I do know that with whatever I do, I like to look a certain way. Like I said, I love aesthetics. So that translates into everything that I do. So I'm like, if I'm getting booked, then I need a site. I need a booking. I need a platform, because I don't like feeling chaotic. I don't like having a bunch of stuff in my messenger. I don't like people texting me. I don't like feeling like the neighborhood plug, Right. Like, if I'm going to do this, I need to take it seriously. So, I said, okay, I need a site. So at this time during the pandemic, like I said, I wasn't doing makeup. So my income stopped completely. And so I'm like, okay, let me do donation reads. I did donation reads. I think I did like 11 minimum. Or 15, something like this, some angel number. And I did 15 readings, and I was like, okay, boom, Shopify is $39 a month. Okay, 3 readings. Now I can get a Shopify account.
Right.
Now I can build my store. I went to school for technology. I'm a tech baby. I'm a Gen Z. So like I already knew how to set up websites. I was coding MySpace layouts. So that was very easy to me. And I feel like even if I didn't know, I'm the type of person to figure it out.
Right.
I'll Google it. I'll YouTube it. I'll figure it out. And so even aesthetically, I know what I want things to look like. And so even if I didn't know like exactly how to structure it per se, it was kind of just like I'm going to play with this site until I think it looks good. And so I just played with the site until I thought it looked good. And then I was like, okay, eventually those donation readings, after I got my site, it turned into, well, I don't want to have to exchange my time and energy for money if I don't have to. Like, what if I'm sick, or what if I'm energetically depleted, or what if I just want to spend time in my real life, enjoying my real life. And so I was like, I need a product. And so it's actually funny because I had a bunch of spiritual supplies laying around the house. Florida water, crystals. I was making waist beads. These are things that I was doing for myself. And so I just started taking pictures of them. I have one around the house, but I took a picture of it. I had nails on. I had this bush in front of my house. So I just held the product in my beautifully manicured hands in front of the bush and just took a picture of myself like that. And I it's okay, sorry y'all, the dog. So I just took pictures like that, put them on the site, did pre-sales, got pre-sales, kept buying inventory with those pre-sales, and then rinse and repeat. And here we are 4 years later.
Because I know when you spoke privately, you were saying like I mean, you started your business with basically nothing.
No,
right?
literally $0.
$0, right? And people hear that like online. I started from nothing, blah blah, and people don't really believe it. Essentially, they can genuinely be done and like the steps to do it. So you're basically saying, all right, you ain't really have nothing, but you had what you had. Like you had what was around you. You leveraged that. You use what you had at arm's reach to be able to create something, and then from there, you did a pre-sale to fund the actual site, and then you just started.
I did readings to fund the site, and then pre-sale to get product.
Gotcha.
And then when the pre-sale did well, I would use that profit to buy more products and keep building out and building out and building out. And so, yeah, eventually I built something sustainable.
Okay. So let me ask you this then. What do you say to... There are people who had these grand ideas, right? And we're in an era now where you can create a dollar out of anything, right? But I think still people have this limiting belief of, okay, no, I could actually make a business out of this if I do it the right way, right? But I also feel like that people have a hard time of separating the business side from the passion. Like, you know, like with you like you said, you had to you already knew how to, you know, put sites together and stuff, but that's still, you had to learn. I'm pretty sure there's stuff about Shopify you had to learn along the way, right? That's you separating the business from the actual passion necessarily, right? So when you're going about this, would you say, like, do you feel like there is a certain strategy that somebody should think about, like in terms of starting from zero, or do you feel like it's just if they can, like what's the, like, is there a formula to how you would do this? You know,
a formula to go from hobby to business,
from hobby to
or
business.
from spiritualist to business, or both.
Because I feel like that could be anything. It could be, you know what I'm saying? It could be.
Yeah, so I think once you start seeing traction and that you've built a community who trusts you and you've kind of built authority, you now have the ability to choose if that's something that you want to do, first of all. Not everybody wants to have a business that surrounds something so sensitive, like spirituality, and something that's so close to them. And I feel like, just even going back to makeup, I feel like that's what messed me up and messed up my love for makeup, because what started as like a hobby, something that I just did in my room at 2 a.m. to take pictures for fun, it turned into a job. And it made me not like it anymore. And so I think you have to choose, do I want to make this sensitive thing a job? I didn't mind making it a job because I felt like my mom always told me, like, if you love what you do, you'll always get paid for it. Like, you'll be fine. So that's number one. But I would, for one, tap into what you need. And this is something that I'm continuing to learn. Continue to tap into what you need. And then build boundaries around that. Because like I said, I was like, I don't want a bunch of messages overwhelm me. Right? So I don't want a bunch of messages. Hey, can I get a reading? Hey, can I get a reading? Hey, what do you sell? What do you sell? Can I get a reading? How do I book? I didn't want that.
Right.
That to me overwhelms me. So I knew that with that boundary, I needed a booking site, period. Whether it's Acuity, whether it was just going ahead and getting to Shopify, because I knew I wanted to sell products eventually. Figure out those boundaries so that you can set up the structure around the boundary that you're trying to create. You can set up the world that you're trying to create. Did that answer your question?
No, yeah.
Okay.
No, I was just curious because, like I said, in an entrepreneurial realm, I'm in a whole different side. You know, I'm in a real estate, you know, stuff and things like that. So like, I'm in more of the, I would say, practical business, you know, business model, right? And there are people who genuinely believe, like, no, you can't do these type of businesses because they're more likely to fail, or they're just harder, or they just, you know.
Well, I don't think with spirituality, and I don't think anything is more likely to fail. I think if you're willing to stick through it and figure out the kinks, I feel like you can make anything work. Yeah. And business is business. No matter what the modality is, business is business. You sell something that people value and they buy it. You know, like it's that simple. Yeah. And so when it comes to spirituality, it's like, okay, with readings, I'm selling clarity, I'm selling connection, I'm selling strength, I'm selling an emotion, you know. I think people are afraid to sell in this industry when it's really like, this is my job. And I deserve to get paid to do my job. You know,
that's a good point. That's actually just brings me to what I was thinking about. Now, do you ever feel like, how do I say this? Do you ever feel like weird by being in a space that's, like you said, that's so sensitive, and many people feel like that people shouldn't charge for it? You see what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people who really feel like, oh man, this isn't something that somebody should be. If you really care, you should do it for free, right? You know. So, do you ever feel a way about that at all?
At one point I did. Honestly, I think this is something that I'm kind of just now getting over. I kind of knew it subconsciously. Like, it was something that I knew logically, but I feel like now I'm really starting to ground and understand you deserve to get paid for what you do. Because, so taking the spirituality out of it, you go to the doctor, they care about you, but you finna pay me for all this work that I've done to learn how to take care of you correctly. Facts, yeah. To learn your body. You go to a therapist to tell all your problems to. Really, sometimes they even just sit there and listen to you. Right. But you still got to pay them to listen to you. So what makes my job any different? And then even if you think of the occult spiritual world, this information, astrology in particular, used to be for kings and for people of status and of royalty and people who utilized it for their businesses and for their kingdoms. And so they may not have necessarily been paid in cash, but people would bring them gifts for their knowledge, or people would bring them, they would be housed or whatever. Like, even if you think of Jesus, not relating myself to Jesus, but it's like people, they found out he did miracles, they would come to him with offerings, you know? Right. And so I have to live, I have to eat. If you want me to be able to service you in the best way possible, don't you want me to have somewhere to lay my head so that I can do it for you? Don't you want me to be energetically sound so that I can provide you the best guidance that you may need? Right. You know, so it does come to a point where it's just like, this is my job. Just like you go down and clock in at them people jobs and you expect to get paid, I expect to get paid too. Because really it's like, I can just preserve this for myself and my friends and my family.
I say that all the time.
Yeah. Like, I don't have to. I don't have to. But I like doing it. Don't get me wrong. But a lot of people like their jobs. It's still a job. And in modern day times, you know, we don't take we can take offerings of gold or offerings of food and, you know, but it's also like, you could just pay me. Right.
You know, it's funny. I had a thought as you were saying that, or in general, right? And people can question what somebody else offers and what they sell, and whether or not they should charge this amount or whatever, right? I always think like, do you drink? Because it's like, you're literally buying something that has no benefit to your life at all, right? You know what I'm saying? You spend hard-earned money, you know what I mean, on something that you know for a fact is really killing you, you know what I'm saying? But you question somebody who's helping you. You know what I mean? So I think that's interesting how people
right. And so even with my thing is, my goal is to empower you. I feel like it gets predatory when and this is with anything, therapists, doctors. I feel like it gets predatory when I attempt to keep you in a loop of my cycle, of my what's the word I'm looking for? Like, of my mentorship.
Right, or your ecosystem.
Right. Like, if I try to keep you here, leaning on me, and I just feel like that's when it gets predatory. Right. I don't want you to feel like you need me to talk to God, because that's essentially what I'm doing. I'm bridging the gap. I want to empower you to trust your own intuition, to learn these tools, or to learn, even if it's not astrology, that's my modality. What's yours? Let's figure out yours. Let's figure out how you're supposed to connect with God. Let's figure out what's going on in your lineage, in your bloodline. What trauma can you help heal? What can you help unpack so that you can live the life that you want to live? Then when I get you there, okay, like sometimes I'll stop people from getting readings from me, because it's like, girl, you done got 7 readings. You need to take a break. Sometimes they may go to other spiritualists. That's fine. But for me and my integrity, I have to make sure that people are not reliant on me as some kind of savior. The same way that they do to a lot of other people have a tendency to look for something outside of themselves for guidance. And I always try to emphasize, it's you. Like, I'm just reflecting back to you. I'm just the vessel, but I'm reflecting back to you your power, and I'm here to empower you to stand in your truth and live your life. Just the same way how I said astrology, my natal chart showed me how to live in my truth. I want you to recognize how to live in your truth, and then go forth and be great.
No, that's powerful, because I feel like, especially in this realm where people are taught, rather it's consciously or unconsciously, when they offer a product or a service of any kind, is to keep the customer coming back, right? And it's like, all right, if I sell you a book, I gotta sell you a course. If I sell you a course, I gotta sell you one-on-one. If I sell you one-on-one, we gotta be in real life. We gotta do a workshop. It's like it's a continuously.
Well, I think that's okay in a sense, but I'm speaking specifically like on readings. Now, when it comes, there's other ways that I can empower you to stand in your own power.
Right.
So, like, let's say I give you guidance on a reading. You found out your spiritual gifts. You found out, I can do this myself. Okay, cool. Oh, I also have oils. I also have candles. If you want to mix your magic with mine, you know, because even the Bible says when two or more touch and agree, there I am. So our magic mixing together is like us praying together. It's like us co-creating with spirit. So if you want to test your power and you want to try my oil, not test your power, but if you want to be in your own power while also supporting me, sometimes it's just, they just want to continue to support me, you know? And you want to use the products that I've already created for this specific intention. Okay, I have other things in my ecosystem that you can test out. I have rituals. You want to join a ritual? Do you want to learn astrology? I have an astrology course. Do you, like, what do you want to do? What would help you on your journey next? I don't want it to be, like I said, I think it gets predatory when you're in a loop of the same information.
Yeah.
It should be growth.
I always tell people, when it comes to business, it's really broken up into three things. You got people, you got numbers, and you got systems, right? So, like, with your product and your services, you're essentially offering something that's the connection to spirit, through spirituality to the people, right? And of course, you know, you still have to reach it. You still have to worry about the same business things that anybody else has.
Right.
You got to worry about the analytics. You got to worry about how many people you're reaching. What's the ROI?
I got to worry about profit.
You have to worry about all of that,
yeah.
and then the systems, right? So that's what I want to touch on, because although you know you're in the spiritual realm, this is really, really shows how good you are in the e-commerce side of things, because it's easier to sell stuff that you don't have to introduce. You see what I mean? Like, basically saying if it was a hoodie or I don't know, this water bottle or something, right? This is nothing new to me. I've seen a product similar to this, right? What you're offering is something that I haven't necessarily seen before, right? So you're having to nurture your audience on a different level and then offer them something that they really can't get from anywhere else. So it's like an exclusive, like it's exclusive, really. And then there's limited quantity because you're only making it based off of like the transits. Yeah. So, what are your systems? You would say, like, what do you use on the back end of Shopify? To like really make this make sense.
To keep the business side intact.
Yeah.
So for one, I'm not trying to convince nobody that don't know what I'm talking about. I think that's a major key. I think when I first got into business, I was like, wow, everybody should know about this.
Yeah.
Like, everybody should be able to see that this is just a prayer with a ceremony, or that this is just holy oil with a different intention. But I can't talk to everybody. People are set in their ways, you know, and they have a right to be. They have a right to follow their God. And, you know, so I just talk to the people who do see the interconnectedness of all things. Making that joke because I just said that word earlier online. But that's the only way I can describe it in English. Like, they see how things all interconnect, and they support a brand that, you know, so my target audience is kind of somebody who may not necessarily have grown up in the occult world, but they enjoy religion, and they may not necessarily want to initiate into something. They don't want to initiate into something, at least not yet, and they want a system or a spiritual practice that doesn't require too much dedication right now. And I feel like astrology is for everyone. You know, I can at this point in my journey, I can practice any religion because I understand what I'm looking at because of astrology. And so my audience is kind of the same. Like, they don't necessarily want to initiate into Vodou or Ifa. Not yet. They might later on, but the stars are universal and they understand that. So while you're powering your products with the transits, I mean, what gets more tangible than the stars that I could see? You know, it's in this realm, you know what I mean? There are more tangible things, but you know, if I don't resonate with the gods of this culture or this archetype or this religion, I know that the stars do that, and I know these herbs do this. We all breathe in the oxygen that plants give us every day. So they all, and we know the effects that they have on us, whether we see a pretty flower or whatever, right? And so that's kind of my target audience. Like, they understand that they can use it no matter what they practice. So that's who I talk to. So I think getting clear on who your target audience is and specifically speaking to them is very important to figure out. When it comes to like systems, I have recognized that I don't like having to post on social media all the time. And so now I'm just focused on, I do two things. I do boosted posts on Instagram and Facebook just to, you know, get people to see me. That's for visibility. Get them on the site. If I can get them on the site, I got you. Right? And then from there, I just do retargeting ads. If people see something enough, they're either going to purchase or they're going to try to figure out, okay, who is this person? What is this? And they'll dive deeper into your world, which then eventually turns into a purchase. So figuring out what works. Once again, what are your boundaries? What do you want? I didn't want to have to constantly be visible on the internet. Boom. Okay, I have ads running. Now I can focus on the things that I like to do, like creating products, like studying astrology, like talking to my community, you know? And so, yeah, so that's pretty much it. Like, it's really the ads. Of course, I do email marketing to nurture my community. I do the basic business stuff, mark emails and ads.
I thought I'd ask you that because, you know, people are always in my inbox. I don't even reply most of the time at this point, but there's always this thing where, like I said, in business, a lot of people have the mind frame of, I can't do this business because it's more of a passion than a business. It's harder to create a business out of it, so they don't do it. They end up going and doing something that's just a money grab, you know, and then they end up tapping out, right? And it's like, you should have did the thing you loved and created systems around the thing you love, and you've been able to still sell yourself, especially in today's round.
Yeah, like, even I think doing what you love makes it easier to get through those crash outs. Because there have been times in my business where I struggled, but it's like, I love this so much, I'll figure it out. I love this so much, I'll figure out the leak in the system, I'll fine tune it, I'll rebuild it over and over and over until I get it right, because I love it so much. If you don't love what you do and you just doing something for the money grab, you're going to be like, this not working, I'm moving on.
Facts. You talking to that boy. Listen, because every time I've done a business and I literally did it for a money grab, every time something went wrong, I was like, I don't even want to do this.
You don't really like this that much to go through this.
I don't care enough to go through this headache. Right? But if it's like what I'm doing now with like the brand and real estate, whatever, I'm like, all right, what do I have to do to make this work? Right? Because this is what I need to do. Like, I don't care whatever I have to do, it's gonna get done. But it's like other stuff I try to do. Oh no.
No, facts. That's how it was with makeup during the pandemic. It was like, okay, people have been telling me, oh, you need to sell lashes or sell a course or do more workshops or whatever, diversify. But it's like, y'all, I ain't never really liked doing that this much for me to stick through it, especially during this pandemic when I can't do the makeup. Now I gotta rebuild something else on something I already don't want to do. Oh, nah, I'll just stick to what I'm enjoying, what's lighting me up.
And on top of that, it's 2025. Like, we live in a day and age now where you can literally wake up, like you said, start with nothing and start a business. And then you can do it based off of how you really want to design your life. Like I love the fact that I can just wake up when I feel like it. If I, you know what I'm saying? Although I got goals to hit, so I'm not waking up at noon and 1 o'clock. I got stuff I gotta do. But if I wanted to say, man, I'm working from the bed today, you know,
I'm saying,
working from the bed
and
today.
that's why it works for me, because in the spiritual world, I mean, I don't have to. I'm not confined to a 9 to 5. Real estate is different because you kind of have to work within the confines of when other people are up.
Right.
But for me, it's like, especially if I don't have no appointments, I can sleep all day. That's fine. I'm a night person. I've always been a night person since childhood. I used to stay up all night, go to school, pass out at like 3 p.m. when I got home, sleep till like 10, do it again, stay up all. So it's like, that's what has always worked for me. I get the most downloads and insight, and I have the most clarity in the middle of the night. And so I'll hear people say like, oh, if you want to be productive, if you want to be a millionaire, you have to wake up at 5 a.m. But it's like, that doesn't work for me. And I have the freedom. I am an entrepreneur because I want to have that time.
Freedom, right.
Yeah.
And I find it funny that people always say that, right? They say these things that I think a lot of things are outdated.
For sure.
When
I was just talking about that in my life.
A lot of stuff is a little bit outdated. I mean, some stuff I feel like it's tried and true. You can't get away from it. Like, most millionaires are investing in stocks, or are investing in real estate, or are investing in these things. So that's a fact that's probably never going to change. But to tell people that they have to live and maneuver a certain way, personally, I think it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Because we live in a time now where I can be 3 different places at once. I can literally talk to 1,000 people in a day, technically.
Yeah.
With the fact that we have ads, we got social media, we can do so many different things without me lifting a finger.
Right.
You know, it's just insane. Like, so I think that with the business like evolving and these different things like coming into reality where we can really do whatever the hell we want to do as long as it's with intent and, you know, right systems, you know? Mm-hmm. I think it's powerful.
Absolutely.
But to see you figure it out in that realm, I always just find it interesting because I always, like, I wanted to be an artist when I was growing up. When I was a kid, I wanted to be an artist. I was the type, I went to art competitions, like, nobody was seeing me in any of that. Like, so then it's like, as I got older, I'm like, bro, I don't know how I'm make a living off of this, right? But then
there's so many ways to make
that. Right. Now I'm grown. And now I'm like, bro, it's people out here living full off of their art or off of their passions, or, you know, I just find it interesting.
Yeah, I think it always just comes back to building a community that supports you. I have people who have supported me throughout all my little ventures that I've done on the side before I got here. People who followed me since I was doing makeup, when I was doing graphic design for a little bit, you know, whatever I was doing at the time. People have followed me because they support me and they know how much love I put into the things that I do. Even if it's something that I wasn't extremely passionate about, I don't believe in selling half-ass work or doing half-ass anything.
Right.
And so, you know, even if it comes to art, it's like, okay, people love my art. They want to support me. They may not be able to buy my painting right now, but they may subscribe to my Patreon, or they may, you know, they may buy a t-shirt, or, you know, so there's so many different ways that people will be willing to support you just because you're you. And I think establishing yourself as someone who is not only an authority in whatever industry that you're in, but somebody that's trustworthy and moves with integrity, I think that says more than what your brand is. Because I feel like I can switch brands right now and people will still follow me because I've always been super truthful, super trustworthy, transparent. So, like, even through my mistakes, to the point where people defend me and I don't even have to.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, you just said, you gave a lot of gems within what you just said, because there's power in the approach of what you were saying. So, just for the audience, like, they didn't catch that. That is you focusing on your target audience, right? Create a community around that audience, and you only sell stuff for your audience.
Yeah, and I think it
that is the most powerful thing.
I think it really just
apply to any business.
It comes back to selling stuff for you. Like, I don't sell anything that I don't use. I don't sell anything that hasn't helped me. How can I sell something that I don't know works?
Right.
I sell astrology because I know how much it saved my life, literally. And I will say that over and over. I found God with astrology and it saved my life. You know, my products, I use them to make my life better. So why wouldn't I share this with you? I can give personal testimony as to how this works and why this worked, because it's me. So I think maybe it just comes back to having a personal brand, you know?
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially in this day and age. Like I think at the point now where I'm even having to get over that, because the fact is, it doesn't really matter how good you are in your field, more than it matters about your personal brand. Like, I know so many people who are just dope, but they don't have a personal brand. So it's like, they're not getting invited to certain places. Yeah. People aren't recommending them to certain, like, it's just crazy. And even myself, I'm like, I gotta put more pressure on myself to build my personal brand. But it's like, in reality, I have one. Like, I have people, I get invited places, I get, you know what I'm saying? All types of stuff. But it's because of although it's been minimum work with my personal brand, like, it is a factor. So having a personal brand in any sector, I think, is important. And just documenting the journey and being transparent, all those
documenting the journey. And I also think people overthink the personal brand thing. Sometimes that literally can just mean your reputation. When you talk to people, are you kind? Are you fair? You know, realize I didn't say nice. But are you kind and are you fair? Yeah. And do you move with integrity? Do you have a clear mission? You know, and you'll start to have people align with you who see your mission and want to support it, and will say, you know, because I've been invited on platforms where people are like, no, Mikayla is dope. Like, she teaches things in this kind of way. And even me talking about religion, for example, right? People will invite me on to talk because they know that I'm so knowledgeable on so many different things that I can kind of speak the language of whoever it is that I'm talking to. Right. Whether you're a Christian, a Muslim, whether you gay, straight, like, I know how to speak your language because of how deeply I care about knowledge and sharing knowledge, and people will always associate me with that. Right. Whether I stay in the spiritual lane or not. I don't want to go nowhere, but whether I stay in that lane or not.
So let me ask you this then. So because you're having like you're basically like the duality of like spirituality and business, right? So how exactly do you use or have used or seen people use like spirituality to kind of guide them in business? I tell people all the time, like, the most successful people I know, like, in business, they are super in tune to like the spiritual side of who they are. Like, they're very intentional. They only eat certain things. They only consume certain things. Like, everything is about like their spirit. Yeah. So how do you use your spirituality to guide you in business, and how can others do the same?
Yeah. So of course I'm an astrologer, so I bring everything back to astrology. Paying attention to, once again, your energetics. But I know for me, like, I have Jupiter in Aquarius in the 6th house next to my moon, right? I know people listening are like, what are you talking about? But the moon is like safety and comfort. And then Jupiter is like how you build your wealth, wealth to share, and how you get your blessings from the heavens. And so with my Jupiter being in Aquarius, I know that I will always thrive if I focus on the community. So most of my work is building community. I run a Facebook group. I'm about to open my Discord again. People in my world, they want to feel at home. And I can see that they want that because that's what I wanted. Right. I wanted a space that made me feel like I'm not the oddball. I'm not the fucking weirdo woo-woo girl that's talking about tarot cards all day. And so that's kind of how I connected. I come back to the stars. When I feel lost, I come back to the stars because that's my modality. Some people, they come back to the Bible. What does God say about money? What does God say about purpose? Sometimes people just pray and they get clarity. I pray and I get clarity. Like I said, once again, the energy cycles, sometimes I know, like, I follow the moon. So, like, I know during Scorpio moons, I don't want to talk. Yeah. You know, like, I want to lay on the ground and in the dark and cry. So during Scorpio moons, I don't book anything, and I can set up a system that supports that. I close my books, you know. Those are just examples, but just really recognize that, okay, like, I need things to be structured in this way. I know that about myself. I know what gives me anxiety. It really just is about being in tune with yourself, even if you aren't sure what your concept of God is yet. Well, you know yourself. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So if you're a reflection of God, then you should know more about you than anybody else does.
Yeah.
So do things that work for you.
Yeah. I think that's interesting because it's like I said, being more spiritually in tune can help you in business or whatever else, because one thing leads into the other, right? Where it's like, let's say you might be feeling a moment of anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it's like, if you're more in tune with yourself,
I know what that emotion is telling me.
Right, I know what that emotion is telling me. Or maybe it's not anxiety. Maybe you're going against what the hell you should be doing at the moment, and you should do something else.
Exactly. That's always what happens. And so even there's a quote that I say a lot, which is, even demons serve God. So when I'm going even through these like shadowy periods where, you know, it could be anything. It could be I'm just sad, or business is slow, or whatever. It's like all things work for our highest good. As long as I remember that, as long as I position everything in my life to be working for my greatest good, then I know that this is either a redirection or this is an ode for me, a nudge for me to tap back into why I originally started.
Right.
You know, what's the leak in the system here? Is this an energetic thing, or is this just sometimes shit just be slow? Like, like, are you fulfilled? Okay, if you're fulfilled, then things will work itself out. I was about to say something else, but I completely lost it. But yeah, it's recognizing what your emotions are trying to tell you, because I feel like your emotions are your direct connection to spirit or source or God or whatever you want to call it. If I'm not feeling right, there's a demon that's showing up that wants to teach you something. You can either let it destroy you, which will still end up bringing you back to God, because at some point you get so low that you like, I'm on my knees begging and pleading. Hopefully we don't want to get there. So the way to not get there is to know this is serving God. What's up, demons? What you trying to show me now? Okay, because I just went through that the other day where it was like, I am lonely. Okay, there's the demon that showed up. What's up? What do you need? What is that showing you about what you need? Sometimes the answer isn't clear. Sometimes you have to lay in it for a second and then ride the wave into clarity. And it's like, oh, I'm lonely because I haven't been nurturing my community lately. Okay, boom. So in your business, you can create the community that you want to see. So that's why I said I'm about to open the Discord back up. I want to feel closer to the people who are supporting me. Boom. That fear of loneliness is gone, you know, but I had to allow myself to lean into it, knowing that you'll be okay, because I'm so rooted in my faith in God. I can allow myself to fall into that emotion versus before I found astrology and before I found God or whatever. It was either I was so depressed that I would look at vices, I would smoke and drink and escape, or I would avoid whatever emotion came up and I would intellectualize it, because I was like, well, I've been low before. I don't want to go back to that place. And so now it's kind of just like, well, maybe today I'll just be sad. I feel like I gotta cry. I'm just gonna cry. And it's okay. Like, my friend Shalana says, you have a 100% success rate at getting through your darkest days. And that has always stuck with me, because now when I'm feeling those like turbulent emotions, I'm like, well, we've gotten through worse.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still living.
Yeah, I'm still living, and I'm gonna be fine. Yeah. And I even tell people when it even comes to like their magic, the way to get your magic to work is to know that it works. And then everything from there looks like it's working in your favor, even if it on the surface looks bad. You lost your job.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Like it's the same thing I always tell them. Like, you don't really need a plan B if you got enough faith in plan A.
Right.
Like, if you got enough faith in plan A and enough action in plan A, fuck you need a plan B for it. Like,
right.
You don't need it.
If you know that if you see this vision so clear and it looks like your world is crumbling around you, what if your world is crumbling around you to rebuild in what it is that you want? Stay the course. That's your rooting in God. It could just be your mission. It doesn't have to be this being. It could be, okay, I know my mission is so clear. I know this is my purpose. I know this is what I'm supposed to contribute to the world. I don't want to do anything but this. All right. Things are going to start shifting towards that. Even depending on how far you were in your actions from that goal is how much it'll crumble around you. But
Yeah, that's why I had to learn myself to like let certain stuff go and be cool with it, because I realized like for myself, I have unlimited energy when it's something I actually care about.
Yeah,
like,
same.
If it's something I actually care about, I can do that shit from 12 hours, 13 hours a day and not be tired. People might look at me like, bro, this man's still working. Like, yes.
I love those moments.
Like,
I love those moments when I'm just like up 20 hours, 24 hours, and it's like, damn, I really should go to sleep. I actually get sad when I have to go to sleep. Because like, I have to go to sleep. Right. But I'm having so much fun doing it.
It's to the point now where every time somebody calls me, they're like, bro, how are you doing this much stuff? Like, but it's like,
it's fun.
It's cool.
I love it.
I'm chilling. Like,
yeah.
I really feel like I'm just chilling. Like, yeah. But no, I made 3, 4, 5, 6 hours today.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's crazy when you, like I said, when you lean into like the spiritual side of business, how it could, you know, help you in that aspect, and then also with your health and your mental state and everything. Like everything kind of connects like a puzzle.
Absolutely, and I feel like business is the deepest form of shadow work.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because you have to constantly, and I feel like it represents. I'm gonna use astrology jargon. So we have the ascendant, our rising, which is how we perceive the world, and then the midheaven, which is like our professional persona, right? And they square each other, meaning they're in conflict. And so growth and elevation comes from bringing them into union. And so it's like we're constantly dealing with this battle. As our business elevates, so does our public perception. So now we have to grow our own personal identity to match this public perception, you know? So it's like this constant ebb and flow or push and pull of, okay, I want to be this. How do I elevate myself to that? Okay, I want to be this. I have to elevate myself to this. And I feel like business very much represents that, where it's like, if I want my business to grow and I want it to hit this dollar amount, or I want it to reach this level of success, am I ready for that? How can I energetically align myself to handle that responsibility that comes with it? Not even just reputation, but financial literacy. Can I handle this influx of sales? I've seen so many people get an influx of sales and then have to crumble their business because they can't keep up with it. Versus like, if you just take your time, really can you really like tap into yourself? Can you really handle this right now? And then you can be honest with yourself. Yes or no? Okay, no. Well, what does it take to get there? Some people are just really fucking lucky, and that's their tower moment. And the stress that comes with that makes them elevate. But sometimes that's how people learn. But for me, it's like, I would much rather do the energetics behind this level of success that I'm trying to obtain, and then gradually build myself up to that, so that when I get there, it's not like this overwhelming feeling, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. It makes me think about like, I always think about the fact like, well, just going back to like being overwhelmed or whatever it is, like, I mean, maybe it's not, like I said, maybe that's not what you're supposed to be doing. Yeah. Also, I think too, like, with myself, I feel like one of my superpowers is the fact that I mind my business. Because I mind my business because I'm super in tune with myself. So I'm not constantly looking at other people and what they're doing, what they're achieving. So I know I'm like compounding my own success. Yeah. Versus other people, I feel like they might struggle with the fact that like they can't get to where they're getting to because their eyes is everywhere else because they're not in tune with themselves. So it's like people are looking at other people like, oh, he's doing this or she's doing that. Yeah. That's what's getting them success. Yeah. Instead of recognizing their own strengths, weaknesses, their own power, and implementing that to create systems to talk to their audience and then create a community and all that. So that you were talking about what you did towards is what a lot of people are missing out.
Yeah, right. For sure. And I even like, I always remind myself, okay, what do you believe? For one, I don't believe we was put here to struggle. But for two, I don't believe that things have to be this hard. And I'll stand on that. Like, you can call me a brat if you want to. I'll stand on that. I don't think... So when I start to get overwhelmed, I'm like, I don't think I should be this overwhelmed. There's a leak in the system. How can I strengthen the system so that I'm not this overwhelmed and I'm not this bombarded with... I mean, there's going to be time periods where you are busy, but there's a difference between being busy and being overwhelmed. If there's something that is stressing you out and making you sick, depleting your energy, I don't think this is supposed to be this hard.
Yeah, that's a good word to use, sick. Yeah. Because when you think about it, it's like the feeling of, like I said, having anxiety, your heart beating fast.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You might be sweating a little bit, might have a headache.
Mm-hmm.
And all those sound like a symptom of sickness to me. So
Right.
it's like this. If it's got you like that, you might need to reassess.
There might be something here that isn't energetically aligned with you.
Mm-hmm.
For example, there was a period in my business where I wanted to reach a money goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just had products, whether I had them in stock or not. I just had them up, buy everything. I just need this goal, to the point where, okay, boom, now I have to fulfill all these orders. But I make products with the stars, so I have to wait for the right stars, the right transits to make these products so that I remain in my own integrity. And I say all this to say, like, I'm never doing that shit again. Like, I realized how stressful it was to be so focused on a monetary goal that now you're backed up and now you're like scattered. You know, is it worth it? No. So now it's like, I don't sell nothing I don't have in stock. I don't care. I'll gradually build up the stock. Yeah. But I'm not about to be so focused on this one thing that I let the rest of my systems fall just for this goal. You know, it was nice, but at what cost?
At what cost? Right. Yeah. I think that.
Now I got angry customers who've been waiting. I mean, luckily my customers, when it comes to the spiritual world, most of the time people understand, especially because I make stuff with the stars. Mm-hmm. Most of the time people are understanding and they're willing to wait. However, for me personally, I don't like having people waiting more than a week for their stuff.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's a little bit longer, but I don't like sitting on people's products. And so how can I make sure that my systems are in place where my products are made how they're supposed to be made and people are getting their shit on time? Well, you can't just be doing all these big pre-orders, you know, because it just stresses you out. And then by the time you're done shipping all the orders, you're like, damn, I don't got no inventory.
Right.
You know? So it's like, nah, we never doing this again. You know, so I just used it as an example of being in tune with yourself and knowing your limits. Right. Even if because if I was looking at other people who are doing well, we don't know what they have going on. Like, we don't know.
Right. We don't know what they have going on.
We don't know if they're backed up. Right. We don't know none of that. So it's just like, I'll just keep my eyes on my own paper. I share things that I want to share. I sell things that I want to sell. I sell things that I have in stock. You know, it is what it is.
Right. No, I mean, that's the way to do business and make it sustainable. Mm-hmm. Like, doing what you love, and then leaning more on your strengths than trying to fix your weaknesses. Mm-hmm. A lot of us get caught up in that. I was talking about that earlier. Like, bro, sometimes I feel like I'm trying to sharpen my weaknesses so much, or what I perceive as weaknesses, instead of leaning into my strengths, you know, and then using that as my spear to get. You know what I mean?
And I don't think everything is meant to be fixed.
No,
you know, like how I was saying, I don't want to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Right. I don't think that makes me lazy. I don't think that is something that I need to work on. Oh, I need to fix. I was like that. Right. I need to fix my schedule, and I need to that. And it's like, just vibe. Yeah, you know, like, you don't have to be that way.
Yeah, I was talking about earlier. It's like I'm not a salesman.
Yeah,
personally, because it's like, I mean, I'm not good at sales. I'm not in the space. I've never been in space. I'm not the type of dude who's gonna try to convince you of anything. I really could care less. Like, if you like what I have, cool, that's great. If you don't, I'm not gonna convince you. Whatever.
Yeah. I don't like selling either, which is funny because it's like I'm in econ, so I have to sell.
I'm in real estate. Like, I'm having to literally talk to people all damn day, but it's like, I'm not selling you anything. Like, I don't have the energy.
I'm one of those people where it's like, I'll put it out there. Buy it or don't. Like, I don't want to have to convince you, and it goes back to like the target audience conversation. I don't want to have to convince you to believe in me and my products, especially because I feel like if I have to overly convince you and it doesn't work in the way you expected it to, now I look like the bad guy. Nope. Like, I'll share how it worked for me. I'll share reviews. You know, I'll share ways to use things. I'll share the journey. Mm-hmm. And if you think it's cool enough to buy, you buy it. But I don't like being pressured to sell or convince you of anything. Now, I answer questions. I think answering questions are different. But when it's like, well, how does this work? And, well, what does it do? And how can you, and it's like,
yeah, I don't know. Answering questions sometimes can be tricky, though, because it's like, I think back a couple weeks ago, somebody was inboxing me. I didn't reply to him. I mean, oh well. But he was inboxing me like question after question basically trying to gauge how much he believed in what I got going on,
Yeah.
right? But it's also like, I don't sell to people. I'm not gonna convince you. I don't need your money that bad.
Yeah.
Like I don't need your money at all.
No facts. No facts. And that's like, I've done so much for free, and I hate to even sound like that, but it's just like, I've done the work that it takes to build my authority in this industry. I've done the free workshops. I've given away. I'm on YouTube. I'm on social media. Like, I'm putting out information constantly. Maybe not as much now as I used to.
Yeah,
but I've done a lot for free, for nothing, even while I was broke. Okay, right. So it's just like, at this point, if you have to ask me who I am, you need to ask about me. Like,
that's all I'm saying, bro.
Just ask about me. On no cocky shit, but I'm gonna pop my shit. Ask about me, because I don't want to have to convince you of who I am. Because at that point, it feels like I'm being inauthentic and I'm forcing a sale on you,
right? And
I'm not finna do that.
Yeah, I always say too, like, you can ask about me. I don't do all that. Like, I don't do none of that. I'm not telling you, I'm not convincing you of nothing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
you know where I'm at.
Exactly. You found me. I didn't reach out to you. That's how I feel. No, seriously. But yeah, this was great though. I think we kind of getting to the end. So before we hop off, because I try to keep it within like an hour, but we're a little bit over now. But it's all good. It's all good. This was great. This was a great one. Before we hop off, what are some like lasting remarks you want to leave for people who may need your services or may need an ear, or not an ear, but some spiritual guidance in business or just in life in general? Like, what are some things that you would leave them with?
Well, keep your eyes on your own paper is definitely one. Like,
She got that from me.
I did not get that from you. Keep your eyes on your own paper, because I know that whenever I have strayed too far from what I know I wanted for my life and started looking at what people say my life should be, that's when I experienced the deepest turmoil, personally, spiritually, business-wise. So definitely just remember what your mission is. Follow the things that excite you. A lot of people ask me, well, how do I find out my spiritual gifts? And I think sometimes, especially in this space, we over mystify what it means to be spiritual. If you can paint a picture off the top of your head, that is spiritual. Like, that's your spiritual gift. If you can contour a face, that's your spiritual gift. Like, if you can connect with animals, like, there's so many different ways. If you can write a story, if you can make people feel things with your voice, that is a spiritual gift. If you're smart and know a bunch of shit, like, that's a spiritual gift. Everybody isn't meant to see spirits, and everybody isn't meant to talk to the stars. And I think that's what makes everybody so beautiful, because everybody's so unique. Don't over mystify what you think it takes to have a connection with God. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Soul, but that happy place that people go when they're doing something that they love, that's how I imagine people, like, when they're drawing, when they're painting, or when they're singing, or whatever they're doing. That's your medium for connecting with God. Or one of them. I feel like you have many, but that's your medium for connecting with God. Don't sleep on that because you feel like you should know all the herbs in the world, or you should know what all the planets mean, or what all the tarot cards mean, or what the playing card, or whatever. Or the crystals. I don't even like crystals. Let me tell you. I'm not a crystal witch, okay? That's not my thing. That's some people's thing, and I'll go to them for that. That's what makes you unique. So definitely keep your eyes on your own paper, and don't over mystify what God has placed on your heart to be in the world and to contribute to the world. Everything that you do has a contribution to the world. And a better tomorrow starts with you today.
Powerful. So where can we find you? Where's your @name?
You can find me. You can find me. Of course, if all social media goes down, you can always find me at giftfromneptune.com. That is where all of my star-powered oils, products, candles, my rituals, my readings, all of those things are at giftfromneptune.com. You can even find my YouTube channel and my Discord and my Facebook group at giftfromneptune.com. But if you would like to follow me on Instagram, Threads, I'm at the THEE Mikayla Rose, MIKAYLA ROSE. Those are the platforms I'm pretty active on right now. And of course, subscribe to me on YouTube it's youtube.com at Gift From Neptune or /Gift From Neptune. But you can type in Mikayla Rose Gift From Neptune and it'll come up.
Oh, great. All right, man. Yeah, y'all heard it. Y'all definitely go tap in with her. Powerful. I don't have to sell her. We ain't selling nothing around here, but I appreciate having you on. It's a great one. You're definitely going to be back.
Thank you for having me.
No problem.